So hey, let's see if you can catch this vibe. This is about a dream that I had. It was a couple of weeks ago, and in this dream, I was getting off of work, and I was exhausted. I mean, it had been a really long experience. And as I come to my apartment, which is one apartment amongst a big apartment building, I get down the main hallway from which my apartment is located. At the end of the hallway, I see my neighbor. We'll call her Sandra. Sandra is an old white woman. At the end of the hallway, I see her painting a mural at the end of the hallway on the wall. And I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I see this mural, and this painting is beautiful. Like, it really catches your attention. It's amazing. It even seems to like move like the 3D pictures on Facebook do. So naturally, I want to see all about what this picture's about. So I'm walking down the hallway, and it's just amazing. But the closer I get, the more I notice, not only is the picture moving, but behind the picture seems to be something off. And I get closer and closer to the picture, and then I realize that Sandra is painting over evidence of a huge crack in the wall. I mean, from the base all the way to the ceiling, it's a huge crack. And I'm like, yo, this is bad. This is really bad. And I start getting closer and closer, and I start seeing evidence of layers and layers of paint jobs painted over to cover up the evidence of some really serious foundational issues to this building. And I'm thinking, yo, this isn't good. I need to get up out of here. This isn't cool. And I also remember feeling that Sandra, this elderly white woman, really shouldn't be painting in the middle of the hallway, let alone covering up this. But she's probably gonna get in trouble for it, so it is what it is. As I begin to walk back to my apartment, I feel it's important to note that I know I have a roommate. My roommate happens to be the father of one of my cousins. And that was odd because he and I have never been close. Older gentleman, very wise, very wise. But he and I never really been close. So it was kind of weird that he was my roommate. Either way, I walk into my apartment, and immediately I walk in and something just feels off with my apartment. I can't really make out what it is, but something is significantly off. But either way, I go get comfortable, and I'm talking super comfortable. It's been a long day. So I'm down to my t-shirt and my drawers. And next thing I know, I'll look, and Sandra's coming around the corner into my apartment. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing here? How'd you get in here? And then I look at where she came from, and I realize the entire wall that separated my apartment from her apartment has been completely busted out. I'm like, did you break down my wall? And she goes, yeah, I felt the need to come down, and I just wanted it down, so I just took it down. So casually, so entitled. And I proceed to completely berate this woman, like I'm fussing her out. And as I'm looking at the wall, I see she even painted over the seams that were suggested evidence of this wall ever being there to begin with. And we're having a huge fussing session. Like, it is nobody's niceness going on right now. And she then suddenly spazzes out, throws a huge temper tantrum, and then falls to the ground and plays victim. I mean, imagine a 3-year-old kid having a temper tantrum in the middle of the store. This is what this grown, old woman is doing in the middle of my apartment while I'm standing there with a t-shirt and drawers on. I immediately like, oh, this is no. And I go grab my cell phone and I record this because I can only imagine what could happen as a 6'2" black male, 250 plus pound dude with some old, hysteric white woman acting crazy. I begin to tell her that her behavior is completely unbecoming. She needs to get up, she needs to get out, and she doesn't want to hear it. But once she sees the cell phone in my hand and I'm recording her, she then puts on a show. She starts flipping out even more. She gets up, starts tearing stuff in my own apartment, throwing stuff against the walls, breaking stuff, the whole nine. And I'm literally shouting, get out, but I know that even if I use my strength to physically throw her out, there's nothing keeping her out, and she can come right back in. She finally gets up, gets out after tearing up more than half the stuff in my apartment, and storms out through the front door. Mind you, she didn't come out the way she came in. She comes up through the front door, swinging my door wide open, ended up halfway breaking it off the hinges. And I'm like, you're not gonna get away with this. So I began following her with my camcorder, my little cell phone. I'm following her, and mind you, I'm still in my t-shirt and drawers. I'm following her down the hallway, and then this dream is like very real. The same hallway that the big mural was on. And as we get to the mural, and we turn the corner just past the end of the hallway, an area I didn't realize was there. There is a huge party going on in the back, a gathering of a whole lot of older women, mostly white. And there are a few other races in the party. And as Sandra goes back there, still putting on a show, acting completely crazy, and I'm recording, saying what's been happening and what's been going on, the other people in the party are all looking at me, but one. There's one black lady towards the back, towards the side of the party, sitting there at a table, minding her business. She's still a part of the festivities that's going on, but she's not really heavily engaged. And the people are looking at me, and you can tell that people know me, and yet nobody's doing or saying anything about what's clearly happening, about me talking about what she just did and her current behavior. And then out of nowhere, the black lady says, "Sandra, stop that mess." And Sandra stops, y'all. Just like that. I'm flabbergasted. I'm like completely gone. And the older black woman looks at me as if to say, "I got it, baby." And I caught it. Now, at this point, Sandra's still feeling herself, but she's not dare cut up the way she was acting just a few seconds ago and says, "Oh, I really got you. And if I wanted to, I could have got you. I could have got with you." She begins to make all these boisterous, just crazy comments, to which I finally say, "Look, woman, on your best day," and before I can even finish my statement, the old black woman says, "You couldn't have nothing with that boy. That man don't want you, and you don't even qualify." And it was crazy, because she literally was going to say everything I was going to say, but probably said it better. And I looked at the old black lady, and words couldn't describe what I wanted to say and how appreciative I was of what she was able to do in that few seconds. And as I'm beginning to walk away, the other ladies asked me why was I recording and what happened. And it wasn't until after the old black lady stood up and made her statement to Sandra that they then showed any kind of initiative to show interest. And I proceeded to tell them that as a 6'2" black male, I have to be cognizant of my presence and how things can be perceived, regardless if I was the victim or not, and how oftentimes those who are not the victims, those who are the instigators of problems, will try to portray themselves as victims, and I have to be accountable, even when in other situations, people in my situation would not have to worry about those things. And I found myself explaining this to the people, and you could tell by the way they're talking to me that I was respected, that I was well known. But it didn't dawn on me until after I woke up that not one of them thought something was out of order, something that was just off, to the point where they would have involved themselves in the activity of a respectable, well-known, knowledgeable black male in his t-shirt and drawers in public with a cell phone out, clearly upset, talking about all kind of things that was happening to him at the hands of this old white woman. And there's a lot in this dream that I think is symbolic of a lot more, okay? And I'm pretty sure many of you can look at this and make correlations with the state of affairs, the way the world is in today, with race relations, you name it. But I want to focus on a few topics that really stuck with me. The first one was that this hallway had the mural at the end of it, right? People are painting over signs, painting over warnings that something is significantly wrong with the foundation on which this building is built. Normally in infrastructures, you have a crack like that, it speaks to foundational issues. And if the foundation is messed up, the whole building can come down. And the damage can be irreparable, completely just gone. But rather than bring attention to this building that I clearly had no ownership in, no real stake in, rather than, and mind you, it's an apartment building, so we're renting it, so the person who does own it, rather than bringing attention to that person, there were people who were comfortable with painting over the issues to make it look nice and pretty and not address the issues that need to be addressed. And that's dangerous for for whatever reason, that's very dangerous. Let's reflect on that. The other issue was my roommate wasn't there. I walked into the home alone, and this is significant because when I think about the image of who the roommate was supposed to be, this suggests two things. One, that we as black men really aren't as tight and as connected and as accountable as we probably should be. And number two, this was an older man, a wise man, and he wasn't around not only to help, but to impart any kind of wisdom as to what should happen next. You know, the Bible says where one can conquer 1,000, two can conquer 10,000. Of course, you know, walking in God's authority and God's name. But what would have been different? What could have been different had my roommate been there? Would she have been able to knock down the wall at all, let alone paint over the seams? Would it have been more easily accomplished for us to be able to subdue her or dismay whatever could have happened? I don't know. But I do know that from what I gather from that, we are not as tight as a people as we should be, especially us black men with each other, for whatever reason. The apartment was a very major theme, and I don't know if anybody caught that, but for me, that speaks volumes to things like gentrification, entitlement, a lack of intimate space that we as a people can call our own and even feel safe in. We're living in an age where people can literally get killed in their own living room watching TV, killed in their own beds sleeping, and nothing happens because of it. Which brings me to the end. I don't know that anything happened to Sandra. And even the people who could have been there to keep her accountable literally stood around and said nothing. But the one person in the room that understood the trauma, the one person in the room that saw the problem and spoke up was a black woman, and that's powerful. I know way more black matriarchs than I do black patriarchs. And I'm not saying all the reasons why that problem is what it is. We already know why that problem exists. There's everything from mass incarceration to, look, the list goes on and on. I mean, I could literally go on and on about the reasons why we don't see too many black men in the homes. But the point I want to drill on this topic is that we really need to pay homage to the black women who have authority, who have power in what they say, and also can tap into a different kind of power. Understand, I have been struggling with this woman for what felt like half an hour, with this woman tearing up my apartment and me trying to subdue whatever crazies was going on inside this person. And here's this woman with one statement that killed all of that. That's powerful. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim to know what all of these images meant. Though it was my dream, I don't claim to know everything. I don't want to also paint a picture for you. But again, it's like me with a significant vibe. Something's been on my mind heavy for the past couple weeks. And I want to share that on this Monday Vibes. What are some things you saw in this dream? What are some things that you'd want to see happen as a result of what was deposited in your heart, dropped in your spirit because of it? What are some things you think I might be missing? Comment below. I promise you I'll read them. And how do you think this story can change or be different? One of the last things I think about, which probably should have been one of the first, but still comes back around. I think America in a whole, our world in a whole, has some very strong, very deep, very significant foundational issues that need to be rectified. Not just addressed, but rectified. You can't look at a foundation on a home and say, it's broken, and just slap some plaster on it and call it a day. You definitely can't paint over it. You have to literally get down where that foundation was. You have to jack up some things. You have to disturb the soil. You have to literally force things to move back in place. You have to put certain systems in place to support where it was weak at. You have to replace some of the parts that have been deteriorated. You have to literally reinforce with all kind of tools and time and resources the very foundation if you want to hope to have a chance at saving the building. And this is a building that we're all in together. We should definitely look to those who are in a position of ownership of this and hold them responsible for fixing the foundation of this building so that the building can have a longevity more than whatever its imminent demise is going to be. Many of us can see how that can be representative of America. Some of us have a bigger global view and can see how that could be the world. And it brings up the question, who really owns it? Who is really the ones that we can, who are really the ones that we can go to and hold accountable for the repair that needs to be done? And if the repair doesn't get done and we realize we need to get about this building, where can we go? And what about for those who can't go? What about the people who can't afford to move out? What about the people who don't even know the damage is there? Do we just leave them behind? Or do we advocate for their safety too? Because again, we're all in this together. There's so much that this dream left me with. And I wanted to share it. So again, let's have a conversation. Let's interact. Let's talk. I look forward to hearing what you have to say, what you have to share, what you think. Who knows? Maybe we can talk about it and you can be sitting here and we can have an open discussion. Yeah, that would be nice. After all, it's a vibe, right? Thank you for your time. Thank you for investing your attention into this conversation. A lot of things you could have been doing, but you chose to spend it with me. And I do not take that lightly. So until next time, these are my vibes.